Tools like Todoist and Trello are great for managing tasks, but they live outside of where you write your code. I want to show you how the Todo Manager plugin for Godot helps me code more freely by getting me out of my own way.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
This isn't really a tutorial on how to use the plugin because it's fairly self-explanatory. Instead, this is more a look at the methodology that makes this invaluable to me and hopefully to you. Before I get into exactly how I use this To-Do Manager, I want to show you how it works. Throughout your code, you can leave keywords in these comments. You see them here, to do, hack, and so on, and they'll get surfaced in this project menu, giving you an organized bird's eye view of different types of reminders you've left yourself. I'm going to take you through all of them. Let's start with the to-do keyword. I use to-do when I've not written any code, but I want to remind myself to put something there. So looking at the settings menu, you can see I've got this quit button handler that just exits out of the game. And because I'm prototyping and I just need to get something up and running, I'm leaving myself a reminder to come back here and put an "Are you sure?" prompt. The next three keywords I use are temp, hack, and bug. And you could argue that these are all very similar. I use them as like varying threat levels. So temp, as an example, if we look at level object. So here you can see I've actually written some functional code. It's an export variable that requires I identify my player node, which makes it easy to prototype, but I know that eventually I want to automate this so that I don't have to remember to wire it up every time. So for me, that's temp. It's a low danger placeholder for right now. So hack is the next level up. In this case, I have some code that does work, but only under certain conditions. I know that right now, when I teleport something to a space, I'm not actually checking whether I can occupy that space. So if I ship with this code as it is, it would 100% break at some point.
What do you think of the place? I don't know.
Right now, while I'm still just testing gameplay, I'm just leaving this as a reminder. I'll come back and fix it later, but it's a little different than temp because temp is functional, but maybe not ideal. Hack is dangerous. And then bug is very similar to hack. Neither bug nor hack is something that I would ever ship a game with. I just like to give myself a little variability to make one slightly more important than another. In this case, I flagged this one as bug over hack because in order for it to work, you actually have to go through a sequence that the player wouldn't normally go through in order for this logic to work. Maybe not the best example, but in general, temp, hack, and bug are like my, low, medium, and high priority things that I want to get back to before I ship the game. Now, optimize, which is another keyword I use. Let's take a look at this one. A lot of times when I write something into a prototype, I know it's not the most efficient code. This loop here is a good example of that. It's a loop that walks through all of the doors when you enter a level and figures out which one you came through. And this will work 100% of the time the way I've structured this. The difference is that in my prototype, a room is never going to have more than 4 levels. So while the find gateway function might not be super efficient, it's an unnecessary place for me to pre-optimize. Now, when I start building out my game, if I get to a point where I'm building much, much larger levels, and maybe there's 100 or 200 or 300 doors in a level, then this is going to be an opportunity to optimize. So because I have a tendency to over-engineer, when I write something and a little thing goes off in my brain where I'm like, this could probably be more efficient, I'll tag it as optimize, and then I won't come back to it until the end of the project, where I'm actually looking for opportunities to optimize the game. So for me, the optimize keyword, and frankly, most of these are not just about keeping track of things that I want to do. They're a technique that allows me to sort of stay in the flow. Because like I said, I have a tendency to over-engineer and overthink things, and the hack, optimize, and temp in particular are all keywords that allow me to just kind of throw something down, get the game to a state where I can test it, find out if this is a feature I'm even going to keep, or if the rough construction of the systems I'm building actually makes sense. And once it does, then I go back and I start cleaning up the hacks and addressing optimization and stuff like that. But so I use Todoist and Apple Reminders and Trello and a notebook, and I have all different kinds of ways of keeping track of the things that I'm working on. This To-Do Manager Manager isn't a replacement for those, but it is one that lives right inside of my code. And so it allows me to kind of stay in flow. It allows me to get out of my own way. That's why I use this system. It's not just about keeping track of things that you have to do. It's very much about getting out of your own way. The last one was a tip I got from my friend Adam DeGrandis. I'm going to pop over to the settings and change this from secret to what it actually is. And this is one that I think is less commonly used. Not that I'm hanging around Todo Manager forums or anything, but I've got these next items. And especially as a hobbyist game developer who's maybe only working on nights and weekends or maybe just a couple of days a month, it can be really hard to remember what you were planning to do next when you stopped working. So I've made a habit at the end of my coding sessions to sit down and convert some of these to next. Or, if I'm still building stuff out and I'm not ready to go back and start checking some of these things off, I might just go to the top of, you could do it at any file because they'll all show up, but ideally in the file that you need to implement stuff and just start, giving myself a list. Next, do this, next, also that. And then I save and I walk away. The next time I sit down to my project, I can open up this window and see, oh yeah, I was going to do this, I was going to do this, I'm going to do that. And if it turns out that for whatever reason, I'm not feeling that, I convert it back to temp or whatever, and I work on something else. Lastly, I just want to show you how to install and customize this. It's real simple. Go up to Asset Library, search for To-Do, and we're going to look for this green one by Origami Pete. You can click download and then install. I tend to exclude the example file because we don't need that. Then we'll go up to project settings, and under plugins, we're going to want to enable this. We'll see that show up here. And of course, we haven't been using it yet, so there's nothing here yet. If we click over to the settings tab, you'll see the built-in To-Do, Hack, and Fix Me. I like to change this Fix Me to Bug. And then I add 1, 2, 3. My others are temp, optimize, which I'm going to shorten to opt, and of course, next. And then I like to set up the colors so that they feel sort of like a logical scale of severity. So I have my temp as kind of like a mild yellow warning, hack is a little bit darker orange, red is bug, optimize I leave white, and then a nice blue for next. So now if I'm in my tool here, I can type temp, whatever, or next, make something awesome. And when I head over to the project, there they are. I genuinely appreciate you spending your time with me, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It will mean more to me than you know. In the meantime, please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you in the next video.